Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Sitting across from me is Ciara Reese. Do you mind me saying your last name? Is that okay?
Reese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because some people are like, I'm not a public person. Don't say my name.
No, that's fine.
I think, well, I know you through school.
Yes.
We both go to ACM, production majors. So for starters, what do you do?
Well, I am a singer. That's what I've done since I was 2. Right now, for the last 5 years, I've been leading worship at my home church in Tonkawa, Oklahoma. So as far as what I do right now, that's the main thing. And then going to school full time for production. And I'm minoring in performance this semester as well. So,
why'd you choose production?
I chose production because I wanted to be able to have the skills to like create my own music myself. I didn't want to have to depend on other people.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how to create my own music, and so that's why I went with production. And so it was mostly just so I could do my own music, but now after a couple of semesters here and actually working with different people and having the chance to work with people, help them create their music, I really like that too. So it's been a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like production provides a whole lot of alternate career paths.
Yeah, that was another reason too. It was like, there's only so much you can do as a performer. And like that's ultimately what I want to do, but like having the production skills is good for landing jobs and stuff.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, like, it's one thing to produce people and stuff, but I think as we've come to find here that a lot of mainly producers or whatever are actually also really good instrumentalists or singers or whatever. So, I mean, it is really good to like, oh yeah, I can record this, and hey, I'm a killer vocalist too. So if you need something, So then, why do you need the means to create your own music?
Well, that's a good question. I think I've tried working with people in the past, and it's just kind of, it's really hard to rely on other people. To like tell them your ideas, but you don't really know how to create them. And then they can't understand what it is you're wanting. And so I figured, well, if I can just learn those skills, then, I won't have to go through somebody else to put my ideas out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I want to be able to do this, just so I can create music myself.
Do you have a like grand goal of like producing a whole bunch of albums of your music, or?
I don't know. I still don't really know what I want to be when I grow up. I mean,
it's not like we're adults or anything.
Yeah. No, like coming here, I thought, I want to learn all these skills, and then I want to produce my own album, and then maybe one day like have my own studio and label. But last week performing at the first ACM Live concert, I guess I just kind of forgotten how much I love performing, because I haven't done that since I was like a little girl. Yeah. And I just really love that. So now I'm back to like, well, maybe that's what I want to do. Maybe I want to really pursue that and chase after that. And so I'm just kind of up in the air right now. And I feel like every time I take a new class here too, it's like, oh my gosh, I could see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And so I know that I'm supposed to do something with music. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
What was different about performing with ACM Live versus leading worship at church?
So leading worship at church it's not a performance. I've actually said that to some people before, and they're like, what? Yes, it is. To me, it's not, and I don't think it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But performing, just like a secular, fun song that people know and can dance to, and I don't know. It's just different. It's just, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. I just know that I had a lot of fun with it. And
Well,
it's something I used to do all the time. Like, that's what I grew up doing. And so just leading worship for the past 5 years, and that's been my focus, which that's my ultimate passion. But this performing, that reaches kind of a whole nother audience, which is really fun. So I don't know, but it is different.
I think
It's
the train of thought, at least, is that like performance is for you.
Yeah.
That versus like worship is to have other people led to this idea through you, but it's not about you specifically. Did I catch it? Oh,
Yeah.
I did. Okay. There was a bug flying in the air and caught it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the whole thing with like worship not being about you, like our idea behind it is that we sing, we play for an audience of one, and it is really hard to keep that same mindset just during like a performance of a secular song, because you are trying to put on a show for people. But I really think it's just who you give the credit to at the end of the day. And so I wouldn't say that the performing is like more about me. I mean, it is on the surface, but it's still my aim to make it about God.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? That's kind of where I come from on that.
Yeah.
But it is difficult because I remember after the show thinking, how great I felt because like, man, I did a good job and that was fun. And then having to remind myself, like why I even do what I do to begin with. So
you keep mentioning how like you used to perform a whole lot.
Yeah.
Like, what did you do before?
Well, I was a pageant kid. My mom had me in pageants.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was not like toddlers and tiaras, though.
Sure.
I promise you. It was not like that. But I really do think that's where I learned how to perform. And like I've been in dance lessons my whole life. I love to dance. And so singing and dancing was just what I always did for my talent.
Yeah.
And so I grew up doing that, and then I started doing just talent competitions. It's like this American Kids chain. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's like around this area, Oklahoma, Kansas type deal, Missouri. But and so I did that up until I want to say I was like 13, 14. And then when I was 15, I auditioned for American Idol.
Yeah.
And I made it to Hollywood, and then I got sent home. And I think that's kind of when I stopped kind of performing like that. And that's also around the time where I joined my now home church and joined the worship team. And so it wasn't like I don't like this anymore. It was just kind of like my dreams and opportunities shifted at that age. And so, and that's just what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I grew up singing and dancing, doing pageants, which was really good for, I think pageants are good for little girls' confidence, but they get painted pretty bad on toddlers and tiaras.
But I mean, from the point of view that is just like, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Did you want to do it?
Yeah. No, I loved them. I just get skeptical now watching the show. I'm like, surely we were not like that. And we weren't. But it was more of like I just love to perform. And so, being able to sing, do 2 or 3 different performances at every pageant. And that was why I did it, was for the talent portion of it.
Yeah.
I loved it. That's what I did. I didn't do sports. I did. I performed. So,
and so what from that do you think you like still keep in how you perform now, or even how you lead worship now?
yeah. So I will say that after doing that for so long, I don't really get stage fright anymore. I don't get nervous when it comes to singing or performing.
Sure.
Like I don't get nervous about forgetting words or anything like that,
Yeah.
or even like messing up the melody or the
Sure.
like. I'm pretty confident in just in how I deliver a
Sure.
performance, and with worship, like getting up to lead the congregation. I mean that's even like there's no nerves with that at all. But so I think it helped with that, and then just self-confidence too.
Yeah.
I think helped with that. And then, but I will say not performing for such a long period of time and then performing last week, it wasn't like I had to try really hard to remember how to do it. It just was like natural and it came back.
Yeah. Never
And
forget
so
how
that
to
was
ride a
really
bike.
awesome. Yeah. And, because I was a little bit nervous last week because I just hadn't done it in a while, but it just felt so natural. And that's another reason why I'm like, maybe this is what I need to do. Because it just felt, right or whatever. But I think just all the experiences from when I was younger have just, they've just helped mostly, I would say, with confidence in my music and what I'm doing. So,
Is there anything that you still feel like nervous about doing?
talking to people like this. I get so nervous about talking. Like at the show last week, a couple of us in each band, we introduced the band and like say something real short. And I asked specifically for him to let me talk because I was like, I need practice.
Sure.
I get really nervous with talking, not so much singing or performing, but talking to people. I'm kind of an introvert, so talking's always kind of weird for me. I can be awkward.
What's the balance between being an introvert and being a performer?
I know. It's weird. I don't know. I'm not an introvert around people I know really well or around like my family or my friends, but I have a hard time connecting with new people or, like strangers, making new friends, stuff like that. I have some friends who like never know a stranger.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that. But I don't know if there is a balance. I don't know.
And I mean, okay, so why did you do music after, I guess, whenever you had to decide I have to be an adult or something?
Oh, yeah. Well, I first went to Northern Oklahoma College in Tonkawa, my hometown, after I graduated high school. And my first year there, I did the music. I was going to get an associate's in music.
Yeah.
Is what it was. And I had plans on becoming a vocal music teacher, like going into education. But I really didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to NOC, and I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
But after a year in that, it's very classical, very like we could only sing theatrical pieces or classical pieces, and that just wasn't really up my alley. And so the next year I did English. I was like, well, I'll be an English teacher because I like to read and I like to write. And I hated it. And so I was like, well, now what? I guess I could go back to music. And then I had a couple friends at UCO who decided to come here for a semester. And I had never even heard of this school. And then they told me about it. I was like, you know what? I think that's what I want to do. Yeah. And it just felt right. I'd always had doubts about the other things I was doing. And when I heard about this school, I was like, yeah, that just feels kind of right. And so, yeah, and my family was really supportive. My husband was really supportive of it. So that's kind of what led me to doing it.
What did you get at least out of the sort of classical training from yeah, I mean I did that too, and I feel like I still utilize a whole lot of methods in my singing, and maybe just like piano and theory, but like
Yeah. Well, I had theory and ear training and sight singing. I had all that there. And I mean, I learned so much from those classes, and yeah, I still use some of those skills. But as far as like the vocal performance area of it, I guess I did do some performing there. Not like this though, because it was like you know, in front of like a room. Yeah. And but I did do a couple classical pieces, and I think that those probably helped with just precision. You know, singing it the same way every time.
yeah.
Because I'm not really like that. I sing things different every time.
Sure.
So that helped with that. And then also, I don't know, learning a language piece.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really good for, I don't know, it's harder than learning a piece in English.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. I had actually been in voice lessons since I was 6 or 7 with the lady who I was in voice with in college.
Oh, okay.
And so, I mean, she's been my vocal coach since I was young.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if I really learned anything vocally during that year that, you know, she hadn't already been working on with me forever. But I think it just makes you, I don't know, I had to try harder than with like just a secular song that everybody knows. With a classical piece or a theatrical piece, I had to try harder. So that's probably what was most beneficial out of that for me.
What was, I mean, what's the piece that every girl sings? O mio Babino, I think, is the...
I didn't sing that.
Okay, oh. That's like...
I'm trying to think of even what I sang, and I don't think I could tell you.
Well, anyways.
But, yeah.
How has, like, all of... You mentioned that, like, your family and your husband were supportive about, like, choosing music. Like, has it always been, like, a concern of theirs to, like, oh, man, like, what are we going to do with this, like, musician daughter or something?
No, my parents have always been really supportive of me and my dreams. And I mean, when I was a little kid, you know, I wanted to be a famous pop star who on every album had one song about Jesus on it so everyone could hear the gospel. Like, that was my dream. My mom was just talking to me about that the other day. And so, yeah, they've always been really supportive of me with, you know, the pageants and then the talent competitions. And we traveled a lot to do things like that. And we even, like, my dad works for Conoco, and he was able to transfer to LA. And so we were there for a year, and I did auditions and stuff. And so they've just always, it's never been like a, like, I can't believe this is what our daughter wants to do. It's been like a, no, like, we believe in her, we want this for her type deal. And my husband is the same way. I don't know if he's really been able to see that performer side of me yet, because like, ever since we've been together, it's just been like, since I was just leading worship. But I mean, I know he's super supportive. I mean, because he's you know, putting me through school here. And he actually, I had doubts because I was like, well, you know, there's like not a job guarantee with this degree, like, especially where we live. Like, what if, you know, something just doesn't happen? And he was like, well, we're just, you know, God will take care of us. Don't worry about it, but you need to go there. So, yeah, I mean, they've all just been so great.
Yeah. What is I guess, the role of music specifically within your spiritual life, your Christian life?
What is the role of music? Well, the Psalms, there's so many Psalms that talk about singing to the Lord a new song.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my music, when I step up to lead worship on Sunday mornings, it's, I want to sing a new song to the Lord. And every time we open our mouths, it's a new song to Him.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my music, I mean, it's just a prayer of mine that the songs that He gives me would be songs from His heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just where I want my music to come from. Because one day, like, all of creation is going to sing His praises. And so if I can do that right now, then I'm going to use my talents and my abilities rightly.
Sure.
And so that's why my music is important.
Yeah.
As far as like with my Christianity and beliefs.
Yeah. How do you, like, I guess, balance that with, like, secular music?
So I've started listening to a lot more secular music since coming to school here. Because, I don't know, I just kind of gotten into, like, this box where I was like, I really just listened to, like, Christian music, worship music. And then coming here, it's like, well, there's so many other, like, genres, not even, like, topically, but just, like, musically.
Yeah.
And I kind of got this vision of, like, I want to take all this new stuff I'm hearing and, like, write love songs to Jesus from this because, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of times Christian music can start to sound the same, but it's like that in every genre too, when you think about it. But, I don't know. I just want to be, like, creative with my music. And so as far as listening to secular music, I've started listening to a lot more. And I think it's been really good for me musically. And it's also helped me decide what I want to do as an artist with my music, what direction I want to go into. Because, I don't have to just write, 10 songs on the piano. Like, I can do other things and take styles from other genres and create something new. And so I think listening to secular music is important as far as being an artist. I do have to be careful though, because like what you feed yourself, I mean that starts to take root in your mind, and then that's what comes out eventually. And so you just have to renew your mind after some stuff, but it has been helpful, I will say. And like some of the songs I'm writing now, I like more because of what I've taken from things that I've heard. And so
is there room for listening to, like, I guess just like to go with the farthest extreme, like heavy metal or like super gangster rap, like within a Christian context, at least like having that understanding?
I don't know. I haven't listened to either of those really. So I don't really, just because I haven't really had an interest to. I mean, obviously I've like heard heavy metal before, but it's not really something I'd want to listen to again.
Yeah.
And it's not something I would use in my own music.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, I don't know. I think what you listen to, I mean, that's between you and God.
Yeah.
I mean, and I just try to, I mean, I don't really like the word balance, because it's not like I'm trying to balance like my spirit, like my spirituality and the world. Like, no, I don't want to be like of the world at all. But I mean, all music, I mean, all talents, all they're gifts from God. And so they can be used to create awesome music, and so I'm okay with taking that in.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, I guess speaking about the word balance, like, I mean, there is you're sort of in a different world whenever you like go away from home, come here, and you're just in an entirely different environment. And I mean, like, how do you, I guess, balance that?
Yeah. So I'm here 2 or 3 nights a week, and I stay with family. So I am away from my husband and my family, and I don't know. It's really hard sometimes. Not just because like I miss him, which that is a lot of it, but also just it is kind of like 2 separate mindsets I'm in. Like when I'm here, I'm thinking about school. When I'm home, I'm thinking about what I have to do at home and church and all this stuff. And so I don't know. I guess balancing it. I know that the weeks where I make time to get into the Word and to pray, they're much better weeks, and I don't feel so like shaken when I have to go back home or when I have to come here. That really does make a difference. I do know that Sunday nights I'm normally pretty depressed because I have to come back, and I just but then when I'm here I'm fine, you know. But it's just that leaving to come here and then going back. But I don't know. It is kind of hard too, like learning how to. It's like because I'm like independent here, and then when I get home, it's like living with my husband again, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, like you're here type deal. But I really can't complain about it because like my mother and father-in-law, like they work in 2 separate towns, and so like they're only together on the weekends, and so like I'm really blessed that I get the time with Josh that I do. But anyway, yeah. So balancing it's hard, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
So
sort of out of nowhere, I guess, but like if you were offered to sort of do like if you were basically offered an entire career in music, being like a singer or something, but it had to be like entirely secular, would you still do that, or does
I don't know. I don't know. I want whatever I do, I want it to be where I can love God the most and I can love people the most. And so if that's, you know, being a worship leader and creating albums that are just purely for worship, then I want to do that. But I mean, if God tells me, hey, I want you to write pop music, and I'll do that. I mean, I just want to do whatever's going to put me in the like best position to love God most and to love people most. So
yeah. Okay. Tell me about your spiritual journey.
My spiritual journey.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is a fun combination of words.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the church, Baptist church. And my parents, you know, they were really good about teaching me and my brother about the gospel. And when I was 8, I remember going to my pastor and telling him I wanted to ask Jesus into my heart. And so that's what I did. And I got baptized. But I remember a lot of my faith in Jesus and my belief in Jesus coming from this fear of going to hell.
Sure.
And so I remember asking, like, my mom would come in and pray with me at night, and I'd ask Jesus to come into my heart every night. And she's like, you don't have to keep doing that. And I would be like, well, I just want to make sure, you know? And so I didn't really have a solid understanding of, like, the love of the Father or who Jesus really is, which I think is really important because since I didn't really know that or have, like, a firm foundation in that, I just kind of went my own way, middle school and half of high school. And I was like really depressed and just not a very good time in my life. But when I started coming to my now home church, my pastor there, Pastor Derek, he told me about the love of the Father, and that it's nothing that I do that gets me saved. It's nothing that I do that makes me worthy of His grace. That His grace is a free gift, and I've been adopted as a daughter. And that He loves me like a good father would, only He makes good fathers look wicked because He's so good. And then that's when I really started getting it, like, this is, okay, like, this is real. This is the real deal. And so I started going to church there, and I joined the worship team. And I remember Pastor Derek was trying to get us all to like worship spontaneously, just like, and like prophesy over people. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. This, like, what? And then one night we were singing See His Love. And it was just kind of like, that's the first time I've really felt the Holy Spirit come over me. And I started singing spontaneously, and so that was really when that's kind of like the first time where I really felt God. And so that was awesome. That's something that kind of always sticks with you. And so from there, it was just a matter of like, well, is this real or not? Because if it's real, it's something worth living your life for and giving your life for. And so that's kind of where I've been since then. And it hasn't always been easy. We moved away around pretty soon after that time where I felt that real like God encounter.
How old were you then?
And I was 16. And so we were gone my whole junior year, and that was kind of, it was a rough time, but it was a different rough time than like before. It was kind of like, I believe in you, God, and I love you, but I kind of want to do my own thing for a while. And then I just,
when you moved to LA?
To Alaska.
Oh, okay,
yeah, I lived in Alaska too. My dad transferred out there, and that was more of just like a family fun.
Sure.
Which it was awesome. But anyway, after a year of being in school there and kind of doing things my own way, and God was just kind of like someone I kept on the shelf. I just remember waking up one morning and being like, I have friends, I'm having fun, but I'm really bored, and I just kind of feel dead inside. And so that's really when I started getting into the Word and praying. And then we moved back, and I joined the worship team again. I was back, and ever since then, it's been like a, if Jesus really did die and resurrect and, is seated at the right hand of God right now, then that's what I want to live my life for. And that's my hope. That's my purpose. And so that's been my spiritual journey. And right now it's just like trying to, make time for God every day. I don't know, and just loving people like Jesus does. I want to be that, So that's kind of where I'm at now.
To what extent, like, do you feel like whenever you let Jesus into your heart whenever you were 8 versus the feeling of the Holy Spirit whenever you were 16, like, how do those experiences compare?
Well, I will say I don't remember a whole lot because I was 8. I just remember hearing my pastor at that time, give an altar call. And I was like, I want Jesus to come live in my heart. And that's kind of like the extent of what I thought it was. I didn't know that there was so much more. And so I do believe I was saved at that time. I believe that Jesus was holding my soul at that time, but I don't think I ever grew in my faith or in maturity, which is like a necessary part of being a Christian. I don't think that happened until I was taught about the love of the Father and even the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
I mean, because I didn't know anything about the Holy Spirit. I hadn't been taught. And so I think that's probably where they differed.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, like, not doubting my salvation anymore, that was a big deal too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they were different, I guess. But
if you were to explain to someone like the love of the Father in a way that, I don't know, that would, hey, come this way.
yeah. Okay, the love of the Father. Well, he's good, and I know that good doesn't hold a lot of merit for some people. But he's good in that, like, his grace, we don't do anything to earn it. And he's good in that he delights in showing mercy to us. So I know that when I was a kid, I thought he was just kind of some distant, far off person in the clouds. But he's really relational, and you see that through the Trinity. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, he's really relational. He wants relationship with us. And, I mean, not to be generic, I don't think any of the Bible's generic, but John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Whoever believes in him shall never die, but have everlasting life. I mean, Jesus, I believe that Jesus is God in human flesh. I mean, so if you think about that, the God of the universe became a baby in a womb and was birthed and had to learn how to walk, and like he pooped his diapers, and he was just like this kid who like was not self-sustained at all. And then and like God did that for me, like he did that for everyone. If that's not a loving Father, I don't really know what is. And he's a father because like he gave his Son so that we could be sons and daughters. And we've been adopted, and I don't know if that's kind of what you're looking for.
I just wanted to hear your explanation.
Yeah.
Of it.
So, but yeah, I would say he's a good father because, like the parable of the prodigal son, like, you know, the son, we're all that son. We've all demanded things and taken them and then squandered them, and we're wicked. And, and then, you know, God sees us slowly trudging up over the hill toward him to come beg for him to just let us, you know, eat scraps at his table or work. And he runs to us, and he puts a ring on our finger, a robe on our back, and cooks us dinner. And so that's a good father to me. And that, knowing that and understanding that has made all the difference in what I believe. So.
Was that understanding going on whenever you had that feeling during worship?
I think I had caught a glimpse of it, but it's really something that you learn more about every day, and you're kind of wowed more and more every day by it. So, no, I didn't understand it or have the revelation of it like I do now, but I mean, I had heard about it. Yeah. And so that's kind of one of the most important things, is just that you hear about it, you know, and then God will do the rest. So.
Yeah. I don't want you to feel like you are being attacked or anything.
No,
I just want
it's
you
okay.
to feel like you're just explaining yourself. So what do you have to say for those that either have turned away from God or have never known Jesus?
For those who have turned away or never known Jesus, well, I think that if you have said yes to Jesus before and, laid down your life for him and asked him to be Lord of your life, which I kind of like that explanation better than asking Jesus into your heart. I think that's kind of what we used to tell kids.
Sure.
But it's really so much more than that. It's laying down your life for Jesus, asking him to be Lord of your life. I think if you've done that before, in Philippians, Paul says that he who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. And I know that when I mess up, I go to that verse like, okay, well, a good work has happened in me and he's faithful to complete it. And so I think for someone who's maybe fallen away from the Lord, that's a good place to start. Like, there's, again, like with the prodigal son, he did that and he started slowly coming back and the father ran to him. And I mean, God does that with us. For someone who's never known Jesus, is that what you asked?
Yes.
For someone who's never known Jesus, I mean, I know it can be kind of confusing and difficult when you ask someone what they believe and they're like, well, I'm a Christian. And well, what does that mean? And sometimes it's not really clear.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we don't really know what we believe. But I believe in Jesus because he said he was going to raise from the dead, and he did. And that's why I believe he's the Son of God. He said he was the Son of God. He said he was going to raise from the dead in 3 days, and then he did it. And so that's why I believe everything else he said. I mean, and you can also look at like prophecies in the Old Testament. I mean, there's so many that I don't know them. I can't quote them to you. Okay. I'm sorry. But I mean that, prophesy of the Son of God, this Messiah. And then he came and he did what they said he was going to do. And so that's why I believe in Jesus. And Jesus is what makes Christianity different from any other religion. He's what makes our religion unparalleled from any other, is because, our God is alive. He's not dead. I mean, you look at other religions and their gods are dead, but ours is alive. And so for someone who doesn't know Jesus, I think that's a good place to start. Is just, well, what did Jesus say about himself? And then what did he do? And, a lot of people question the Bible, like, well, how do you know the Bible's true? It's just, a book written by human hands. But what Jesus said, like, that's why we believe the Bible. He said the Bible is the word and it's the truth. And so that's why I believe the Bible, because I believe Jesus. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I don't know if that answers your question. But, Jesus completely changed my life and turned my life around. And that's my testimony. Like, I was dead and he raised me up with him. And then but then, a lot of people ask, well, why do you believe in Jesus?
Sure.
And that's why, because he is who he says he is. So.
What is your feeling whenever these other people that are Christians or claim to be Christians that are doing bad things in his name?
Bad things, and do you want to give me an example? Or like,
I mean, here's a really bad example of the KKK, I guess.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think you can look all throughout history of people who have done things in the name of God that weren't necessarily right. I mean, we stole this country in the name of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is because we are fallen. We're humans. We mess up. We make mistakes. We're born wicked. And so, in a more like present time sense, I think Christianity in America is kind of, we get kind of settled and we get kind of comfortable, and so, and like living in the Bible Belt, you know, everyone's a Christian.
Yeah.
And if you ask someone what they believe, well, you know, like I believe in God. Well, what else? Well, I just believe in God. But there's so much more to Christianity than that. And so I really think when you say, you know, Christians who do bad things in the name of God, since we're talking about like abstract people.
Sure.
Like, I mean, are they really Christian?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's not to say that like Christians are going to mess up and do stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we're not sinless once we accept Christ. Like, we're not sinners anymore. We're, you know, sons of God who sin occasionally because we're messed up still. And so as far as like proclaiming Christians doing bad things in the name of God, well, are they really Christians, and are they just messing up?
Yeah.
Like, do they just have it wrong? Is pride getting in the way? Is, you know, the world getting in the way? It's just one of those things where you really have to be rooted and grounded in the Word.
Sure.
But I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, the core of my question is really what your feeling is
what my
about those people.
feeling is about those people. I don't know. I mean, I don't I don't know how I feel about them. Well, I mean, I think sometimes it gives Christianity a bad name to non-Christians. I think sometimes, or when you have like Christians who are hateful to certain groups of people because they're sinners or they're doing, you know, there's so many different issues you could talk about. It makes me sad because it's not the gospel that I know.
Yeah.
And so I guess it would just disappoint me, make me sad. Because I want non-Christians to know what we're really about.
Yeah.
And we're not hateful, you know. And so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does.
Okay.
And then how do you live your life to show that example of the gospel that you know?
Well, I think a part of it is just not being ashamed of my faith. Sometimes, I mean, a prayer of mine is, you know, just for boldness to talk about Jesus and talk about the gospel. And so, like, tonight has been awesome because I got to do that. But so I think just being myself too in what I believe, and not being ashamed of it, not being embarrassed by it, because it's really easy with like just, you know, wanting to fit in with the world and everything. And so like when people ask me what do I do, and I tell them I'm a worship leader, and when they ask me why, I tell them why. And then just trying to walk like Jesus did. And so like loving everybody.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be a Christian who, you know, turns away a sinner because like, well, I have the righteousness of Christ and you can't be around me. I mean, because I want to, you know, Jesus had dinner with prostitutes and tax collectors, and I want to be loving to all people like that. And so, but I'm only able to do that by his grace. And so just walking like that. I really have to make it. And like, I'm going to be honest, I didn't today. I woke up late. I didn't get my time in the Word. I didn't get my time in prayer. And, but it's not like I'm going to hell for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't love me any less. But staying rooted and grounded in the Word does help walk that out. And so I guess I just want to be a breath of fresh air to people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just kind of my prayer for myself, that I would
Yeah.
be a light.
Yeah. To you, and I know this is like the hardest, dumbest question, but to you, what's the most important thing that you get out of the Bible and Christianity?
The most important thing,
Yeah.
hope.
Why?
That I don't have to die. Hope that there's life after this body is old and gross and dead. Hope that the guy that I'm living my life for, I'm going to get to spend eternity with. That's what Christianity is. Like, Jesus is the reason. He's my reward. He's my hope. He's my purpose. So that's what I get out of my faith. It's not just another social club, you know, with like 10 steps to a better life, 10 steps to a better marriage, 10 steps to being a better leader and your business thriving. Like, that's not Christianity. Christianity is just Jesus. And he gives me hope.
Yeah.
So.
And I think I've asked someone else this question, but what do you have to say about the non-Christian doing good in the world?
The non-Christian doing good in the world. I was actually just talking to my brother-in-law about this the other day. Trying to collect my thoughts.
It's okay.
I start to talk really fast and then I lose my train of thought. So I believe that there is no good apart from God. But, you know, just to use like famous celebrities who do charity work,
Sure.
who build orphanages, who feed the hungry, who, you know, in these third world countries, I think it'd be kind of ignorant to say that those aren't good works. And when I say that I believe that there's no good apart from God, I kind of mean like when you're feeding the orphans and you're housing the orphans and you're taking care of the widow and the fatherless, like you are making their time on earth a little more bearable, a little more enjoyable, a little better. But this is only 80 years. What after that?
Sure.
So that's kind of where I come from. And for the person doing those good works who is not a Christian, what's really the point? But that's kind of Christianity for me. Like if Jesus isn't real, what's the point of anything?
Sure.
Like, why are we here? What are we doing? Like, am I just living 80 years and then I'm going to die and that's it? And so for someone who doesn't believe in Jesus but is doing all these good works, like, what's the point, really, when you could do anything you wanted? But that's kind of how I see it. But I'm not saying, like, I do think that they do good in the world. Like, they're helping people in this life.
Yeah.
But there's more to just than this life.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, true good is.
Okay.
So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Sure. No, it made sense.
Okay, good.
And then what is the value of people to you?
the value of people to me,
Yes.
so valuable. Because, like I said, I'm an introvert. And so I could just, like, stay at home and, you know, read or watch TV or just do my own thing. But you get really sad after a while of doing that. And so people are needed, like, where we were created to have relationships. And so my family, my husband, and my friends, and even, like, friends maybe I'm not so much in touch with now than I was in high school.
Sure.
But I see occasionally, like, spending time with those people is just so uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. So people are important. People are way important.
And I mean, I guess, like, corollary to that is, like, is it possible to just, like, be a Christian hermit and just, like, oh yeah, I believe in God, and then, like,
I
just
don't
be
think
an extreme
so.
introvert?
I don't think so, because we're built for relationships. We're supposed to be relational. And if you're a hermit, like, you're never going to tell anyone about Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's part of our call that is our call, to tell people about Jesus. And so I don't think you can be a hermit. And though sometimes I would like to be, honestly. But no. But yeah, I am someone who, like, I have to tell myself, like, go out with friends tonight. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, and then it is fun and I enjoy it and it's needed, but I am an introvert, but I'm not going to be a hermit.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can be a hermit and be a Christian.
Yeah.
Plus that's just really sad.
And then I think lastly, what advice do you have for people?
What advice do I have for people?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. I would say, well, okay, I'm going to give advice that I would give to my middle school and high school girls and our youth.
Sure.
And that is to find your identity in Christ. Because everybody's got an identity crisis. And until we know who we are to Jesus, like, we're always going to be living for the world, and that's not a fun way to live. So I would say find your identity in Christ. That's my advice. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I mean, I want you to have a, I guess, platform from which to say what you believe and what you want to people. And so plug your things. Where can we find you and your music and the stuff that you do?
My website is ciarareesemusic.com. And I'm on Facebook, Ciara Reese. You can like my page there. I am also on Noise Trade. I have a single out there right now. I'm going to Haiti this December. And so the single's out there as like a fundraiser. You can just leave tips for it, but it's a free download.
Yeah.
And I'm also on SoundCloud as Ciara Reese.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where you can find me.
Awesome.
So.
And then, do you have a Twitter or anything?
Oh yeah, I have Twitter. Twitter and Instagram are both Ciara Brook _. So that they're not very professional, but I've had them forever. So.
Yeah, cool. And I'm Santiago Ramones. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know how to get to me either through SantiagoRamones.com or the other number of things that just you can find through my website at SantiagoRamones.com, where I make music, which links to SoundCloud, and you can follow me on Twitter, and I will occasionally say things and puns. And I always end every podcast with my 3 things, sort of my advice or my religion, if you will, which is love never fails. It's going to be okay. I might be wrong. Thanks for listening.